But yeah, here's an example of like another thing I see a lot of people having in common and they don't realize just because politics gets so personal for some reason. Um, so my dad, I did not ever expect to get the vaccine. He did end up getting it, but yeah, he is very much a hippie. Like he does not believe because but he got his job and it is regulation that he gets vaccinated for that job. Um, but yeah, I mean, he is very much a hippie. He doesn't really trust doctors. He doesn't really trust prescriptions. He's all about natural supplements and natural medicine and healing and everything. And so that's what he does for the most part. Um, but, also obviously Republicans are kind of against it as well, including my parents, like my mom and my stepdad, who are very Republican. My stepdad is from the military, even though they're like modern Republican, like they still have always loved and supported me and everything. But it's like that's hello. That's something that people kind of have in common is that like I feel like it's like people get so caught up in just calling each other names, making memes about, Republicans and Karens and everything else, and just making fun of each other and being really harsh and threatening each other and all this crazy shit that does not need to be so personal. We need to find what we have in common. We need to, like either you want a more advanced world, or you want a more like old school, like not as much regulations, like apparently because apparently playgrounds used to look a lot different, and that's because there wasn't so many fucking regulations, and people back then did not care quite as much about if a kid got hurt or not. Now it's like a lawsuit anytime a kid gets hurt. And then, like, teachers can't even, like, carry band aids on them for their students anymore because some kid wrapped a band-aid around his thumb so tight that it cut off his circulation. um, and that's stupid. I mean, is it not? So yeah, I definitely feel like that's important to like mention as well. Like, shit happens with kids. Like, it should not be as big of a deal as we make it. It should not be like, just life or death for somebody who is responsible. You put responsible for your kid or whatever. Like, but yeah, like, what would you want a more modern world or a more old school world? And old school isn't necessarily bad for some things, such as that. Like, as far as like just living in a much more like, you can just instead of having to own a piece of land, just build your own house where there is an open piece of land that is not currently being used. you know, like that was a thing as well. Um, but now it's like everything is a damn document. um, so yeah, it's like where can we find our balance here? Um, So yeah, if anything, I'm a moderator. I'm trying to ask the questions that the world needs to, like, we need to be asking. And, eventually the older generation is going to die out. And eventually this current generation is going to get older and become that older group of people. So maybe if we keep ourselves as aware as we are being, there will be some kind of change. And somebody who takes the position of president, if the world is not completely ended by that point, somebody our age, like who right now is currently anywhere between teenager and even 25 years old, 30 maybe. Um, Whoever the future president of 2075 or something is, will actually be much more aware of, like, because we need to be asking ourselves, why is the American government so sketchy and so corrupted that if we even consider possibly like changing to a different form of government that is not capitalism, like such as socialism or whatever, why is it that our country is going to go straight to hell because of it, and the government is going to completely abuse their power and take advantage of us and restrict our freedoms, like because they feel like they're not but like they are what's the word, I can't think of it. They're able to get away with it basically because they're giving us stuff. Our government is doing stuff for us. When other countries like Finland and Holland are doing so good, and they're socialist countries. um, so I do think socialism can work for places who aren't terrible. So what we need to be asking is, why are we so terrible? Like, it seems that simple. And I do think we are terrible, which is one thing I also realized, like when I go on about these things, about politics and stuff, and have these conversations with people, like Aurora is also very liberal herself. She's not mad at me over what I did like the rest of them are, because she was able to see past that, and she was the one girl who stuck by my side through it all. And I really don't want any kind of hate against her for that, any kind of raising of the pitchforks and torches on Aurora, because she is my friend and she is helping me with this channel, and we're doing this thing together. Um, she is a really, really sweet, amazing girl and drag queen, and she does not deserve to, but like, she is liberal, and she, like, I am going to get I'm sure, plenty of pitchforks and torches up at me in the comments, and I'm fine with that. I'm prepared for it. But, like, please nobody come after Aurora. Like, if anything, like if you don't like me, fine, whatever. But yeah, that is my girl. That is my sister. She's been with me through it thick and thin. But yeah, so anyway, I brought that point up to her, like, why is the American government, so untrustworthy and so sketchy, that, if we were to be socialist, it would not be like these other countries who are doing so well with socialism, like Holland and Finland. And she was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And I feel like depending on what side you're on, the answer is going to be very, very different. And the reaction is going to be just very much, you just heard what aligns more with what you think. And she was like, I think people are just afraid of change. And I'm like, okay, but not really though. Like, everybody goes through change at some point. I think Republicans just don't think we can change in a way that's not, dangerous, because of the people that we are, the government that we are, the country that we are. And, like, I'm sure if they like moved to Holland or Finland and it is a change, it is a different form of government, they would be fine with it, because that is the culture, and they're doing just fine with that type of government. They're doing better than us. So I don't necessarily think it's just because they don't like change, because they don't like change. Like, I understand the way they think, and if anything, like, I feel like this makes me kind of the perfect person. Like, the bitch you want on your side in the LGBT, because I know how to communicate with these people and actually take them seriously, whereas other people are just going to make memes and shit about like how privileged you must be to that, you know, mask regulation is the most oppressed you've ever been, or like whatever. Like I've seen a lot of memes on it. I'm like, okay, like that's a fair point, and like I did kind of like chuckle at it, whatever. But yeah. Anyway, Aurora just simply did not acknowledge that I was basically calling us horrible. I don't know if she caught that part or was fully paying attention to that part, but I'm fully validating a Republican's concern about there being socialism in America, um, because we are a very scary people. And it's just, we're not trustworthy, and it's simply not a good idea for us personally, I don't think. Anyways, so yeah, I'm a bigoted ass Republican, whatever. That is my explanation for that. You know, again, I really don't know at this point. Like, I'm just trying not to hurt anybody or betray anybody, because I come from a Republican background that has always loved me. But then obviously my crowd, my people, fellow drag and LGBT people that I do love, and black people that I do love, you know, obviously we are still kind of going through hard times, and it's like those hard times do need to be acknowledged, okay? And so I do apologize if anything I said to those girls came off like I thought that the hard times minorities are going through right now do not need to be acknowledged, because they do. But anyway, another thing, like more so on the catfishing, the fake account topic. You know, I did that again for the honesty of it all, and to see what the real tea actually was. Because here's the thing, like Rodella, I'm saying her name again, but the bitch whose season I won, she was so quick to revoke my crown, almost like she was already thinking of it, because we did already have our differences. And you know, I noticed that, like a lot of people in this world, they change their thoughts on you very, very quick, depending on whether or not they like you. If they don't like you anymore, they think you are not worth shit, you are not talented at all, you are an ugly bitch, and all this stuff they never thought before. All of a sudden now, just because they don't like you. And that is a pure example of using artificial ways to get what you want and expecting it to give you a guaranteed outcome. And these are the examples that I have used in that video. I have not posted to them yet. Such as the one example, if, you know, a woman is after her dream job, she gets an interview, she notices that the interviewer is definitely eyeballing her boobs, so she definitely works that angle as much as she can. You know, that's great and all. And maybe she does end up getting the job, but then what if he continues to show interest and she is not interested in him? And that is the person that ultimately is in charge of whether or not she keeps this job. You know, obviously that is not a good situation. And then another example that I used was bringing crayons to a drawing competition, basically bringing a gun to a knife fight. You know, it's like, how can you feel right about winning that like, even if they do let you use your crayons, even though they have like a strict set of materials that they already supply to everybody, everyone gets the same materials. Even if they do let you get away with it and you do end up winning the competition, how the hell are you going to feel right and like know 100% for sure that you won the drawing competition because of how talented you are at drawing and not because you had an unfair advantage and colored in your drawing? Okay. Um, so, they do and, again, this whole thing was made in the first place to display what you would do as a drag artist if you actually had the resources to do so. Now they're making it so heavily about aesthetic that, it's just not even the same anymore, really. And it doesn't even really look like collages. Like, one of the girls, I really like, she is on this whole hate train against me, but still, I really did love her type of drag that she did. It was very natural woman in fashion, but it really reflected her kind of personality, and she did it in a way that made it very signature for her. She's the type of girl that, judges all these kind of like underrated things for gay people, as far as like beauty pageants, fashion shows, this gay ass European award show or something, performances, and what they were wearing. Like, she's into that kind of stuff. And I think that's really cute and charming. Like, I'm personally not that into that kind of stuff, but I liked it. And, she always had a signature matte lip color in her collages. She always had a signature, usually like picture of natural hair, like it wasn't a wig. And even though she may or may not be doing the same thing, now it's harder to tell because she's not even using like square pictures in a collage anymore. She's cropping out each item from its picture and putting it to a background. And that is looking a lot like what everybody else is doing. And so before, it was like everything was much more separated and I could more easily distinguish it and, see, like, I can tell right now, like, without even knowing that it is hers. Like, her older collages, I could tell, like, that was a very, I don't want to say names anymore, but that was a very blank person's collage. Like, you could just tell. And now it's like, looking at her new stuff, it's like, I mean, that could be anybody's. Like, even if it's still technically the same thing and she's just doing it different, it's harder to tell. And, drag is all about emphasizing your personal style and everything. So, yeah, there's that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say as far as the politics. I don't really think so. I can remember some details, but I forget kind of like where I was going with it as far as how they relate to what I've been saying. So yeah, personally, I'm not mad about it anymore. I'm just trying to warn everybody there is going to be people probably calling me a racist in these comments because I do still want to include them. I do still really like support them and still look at the stuff that they do, and so hopefully I'm gonna get that same thing back in return. But yeah, they most likely are going to still be making fun of Miss Rosie the racist. So this whole long ass thing was just for context, and the whole story of how it all came to be. So that way, when people see allegations and shit that are being made against me, like, y'all can just skip through it. It's not true. I fully support, you know, anybody who's been mistreated by the police. And oh yeah, that was another one of the things where I was going. I'm remembering now. So, you know, my mom, she like, technically the cop had no proof of, you know, that she had been drinking that night, but she still got a DUI. She was still thrown in jail for the night, and that did put us through a lot of debt and stuff. So, you know, she kind of used that, I remember one time, as kind of like a defense for cops or whatever. Like, yeah, some of them are just assholes. It happens to anybody. Like, it doesn't matter if you're black or whatever. But see, she could be using that as a way to, like, be able to send the message to people that, you know, it does not have to be about race to just want better, ew, I just spit, to want better qualifications to be a police officer. I mean, you know, and as a parent especially, like, you should definitely want a better world for your child to live in, and a safer world for your child to live in. So that's where I was going with that. So yeah, I mean, I'm completely all for just simply better qualifications to become a police officer. It really doesn't take much. I understand that. And it's not that I'm even saying, like, you know, using that as a way to be like, well, technically it's not me supporting black people if it also happened to my mom, because I do support black people. Like, you know, I know it's, for some people, for some reason, people find it really cringe, or they don't really get it, or I don't know, they just kind of roll their eyes at it and are kind of offended by it. Like, when people are like, there's no way I can be racist. Like, I love, or like, you know, I've got so many black friends or Asian friends or whatever. But, you know, for me, it's like, is that not a little assuring? Just because it's like, if you actually do care about, like, a minority in your life, like, would you ever want anything bad to happen to them? Like, would you ever want them to be the victim of prejudice, or I don't know, what do you, mistreatment? I'm trying to look for the right word, but I'm failing. But yeah, so I mean, if someone can help me out, that would be nice. Like, I genuinely am just curious, like, why is it such a big problem if somebody says something like that? I mean, I know there can be, like, internalized racism. I know Bob the drag queen was one time talking about, you know, if you are a white person in America, you are internally racist. And yes, obviously there are stereotypes. There is racial profiling. There is, you know, there's jokes. There's ways that people are portrayed, and obviously that does play a part in, you know, the seriousness of police brutality and everything. So, you know, it's like, I understand it, I do. But, like, even she was like, you know, being a racist person doesn't make you a bad person, it just makes you a person, because, like, we're all kind of discriminatory in our own sense. So yeah, I mean, if anybody watched that and agreed with her, but then people want to get mad at me for being racist, it's like, like, I don't know if I'm saying all the wrong things here. Like, for some reason, it definitely feels like people are going to say that I am. But, like, like, I'm not understanding the issue as far as that. You know, if people want to have hurt feelings about, you know, what I did to them personally, as far as, like, a fake account and everything, whatever, man. Like, I don't really care about that anymore. But yeah, I mean, don't be spreading lies about me. And they say that all I've done is lie. It's like, what have I done to lie to you? What have I done? Like, Cinderfella was real about being a fake account, and she hinted at it many, many times in her performances. Um, and, you just didn't know who the fake account was. And for a long time, nobody even asked. So it's like, and eventually she did end up lying once they started accusing her of it before she was ready to do her reveal, because, of course, she was trying to at least end on a big note, so she wasn't going to spoil it before that. You know what I mean? But then she, like, even after that, she was like, okay, now that I have done my big reveal, like, y'all can feel free to expose me all you want. Like, it doesn't matter because I've already won. I already got away with doing what I wanted to do. Um, so, yeah, I mean, as far as that, it's like, whatever. I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with anybody else in the public. But yes, I can assure you, I'm not racist. I have a lot of compassion in my heart for all types of people of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Um, I myself am a very, very small minority as a tranny. So, I don't wish any kind of harm on anyone. And if I do say anything as far as like, which I don't think I ever would, as far as like the dangerous side of stereotypes, like, the reason why cops can be so fearful of black people. Like, I really don't believe in that kind of stuff. And I personally have never even really made too much of a joke about like thugs having guns or what. Like, I don't even know how that can be made into a joke, honestly, because it's just not something I've thought about. Like, I do know that there is definitely a stereotype about a black person's taste buds. They do like a lot of fruity stuff a lot of the times, and they do like, you know, there is a whole stereotype that they like fried chicken or whatever, but it's like, okay, that's not dangerous though. Like, that's not portraying them as harmful and therefore inflicting harm on them, because a lot of society thinks that they are harmful for no reason. Stereotypes can be very, what's the word? Lighthearted. Uh, they can be lighthearted as long as it's not about dumb, ridiculous, serious shit that, can really affect how certain types of people are seen. Okay. So, that is my take on it. And I don't want anybody to think that, that I am in any way against any certain kind of person at all, because I'm not. And I guess that's all I have to say about that. If there is anything else that does end up getting brought up and somebody has a question about it, I'm more than willing to answer. But my brain can only remember so much of the topics and stuff that I wanted to say. And it's already been like an hour and 20 minutes now, so maybe longer. So we're going to end it here. Anyway, thank you for watching, whoever might be watching. And make sure to catch a Rosie in action. And we will be posting a lot of content soon. Hopefully, we will attract some kind of a demographic here. But anyway, yes, thanks for watching. Bye.